Hi. So we're now going to move on to another form of analysis. So the first form of analysis we talked about was systematic analysis. And that's one method you can use. That's one theoretical perspective you can use to analyze an intercultural communication artifact. Now we'll move to value analysis, which is on this notion of values. And values are a cultural conception of good. Different cultures see different things as good, and we see obviously conflict between cultures when we see different underlying values within those different cultures. And so you can see that if you think about any time you see a conflict between cultures, you can always go back and say at the fundamental element of value, there's something distinctly different here. So I'll give you a for instance. So last year there was this controversy with regards to helmet stickers on the back of helmets for the football players at A-State. They put a cross with one football player and one manager who had died during the off season. So they put a cross on the back of the helmet with the initials for both players within the cross. And that ended up being a controversy because of different value systems. One value system, which is a Christian value system, would say that's a completely appropriate response. But another value system, which is a value system that indicates that no one religion should be privileged by the state, and Arkansas State being a state institution, would say that there has to be this clear separation between church and state, and that didn't show a separation between church and state. Regardless of the argument as to whether or not you actually believe that that does show church or state, you still see two very clear value systems here in conflict. And so we always need to be able to understand what is the fundamental value conflict here. And one of the things you can do with regards to values is you can create an argument based on values. So another thing to understand about values is they're completely abstract and they're completely arbitrary. We don't necessarily know. You can't point to a value and say, so if, for instance, this is a pencil, I can tell you the properties of a pencil. Obviously, the term pencil is arbitrary. It could be lapis or it could be another term. But still, the fundamental kind of material elements here aren't really up for debate. With values there are. So a value like capitalism or socialism, equality, security, all of those things are arbitrary and they're very abstract. We can't necessarily pin them down. Now, one of the ways that we can make a value argument, a value analysis argument, is that first thing we can do is dispute the value, right? We can say that value isn't important in this situation. We can say, I don't value what you value. So, for instance, the people in ISIS that will chop off other people's heads, right? There's certain value issues underneath their behavior and their actions, which we're not going to be able to align with, right? A criteria of a value is how that value is being, in a sense, measured. So you can think of a value such as freedom. Somebody could say that freedom means I should be able to do whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it, without obstruction by a government or police force, whatever the case, any kind of authority group. Another group might say, well, actually, no, it's important for freedom to actually function. I need to be able to be free from obstructions from other people as well. So I need, in fact, a government and a police force and a military to be able to protect my freedoms in the sense of me to be able to function in the world without other people other people's freedom impinging on my freedom. The other thing we can do is we can kind of go after the hierarchy, meaning that yes, freedom is important, but security is more important. So that becomes an argument when we look at things like the National Security Agency, wiretapping our telephones, seeing what we take out at the library, looking at our images online, going into our computers and seeing if we, have, any kind of saucy pictures of us that we've sent to other people. That, the National Security Agency should say they have all access to all information to be able to protect our security, either by cyber terrorism or actual real terrorism. And the only way they can make sure we're safe is if they are able to monitor all communication. So in that case, we have this kind of conflict between what we would call privacy or freedom and security. So we can say that, yes, security is important, but freedom's more important than security. Or, yes, freedom's important, but security is more important than freedom. That's how we are able to kind of attack the hierarchy. And next, we're going to talk about interpretation and evaluation in the final presentation.